Hello, and welcome to the Containment Vault.
SCP-009, Red Ice. Object Class, Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. Object is to be contained within a sealed storage tank of heat-resistant alloy with dimensions not less than 2 meters by 2 meters by 2 meters. Under no circumstances should SCP-009 be exposed to temperatures in excess of 0 degrees Celsius when not undergoing testing, and no water-based solutions shall be allowed within 30 meters of the object's containment area. Object's chamber is to be fitted with temperature sensors, which must be monitored at all times. It is to be kept refrigerated by no fewer than 3 redundant cooling units. Any malfunction of sensors or of coolant systems is to be reported and repaired immediately. If at any time the temperature in the containment area climbs above -5 degrees Celsius, the chamber is to be locked down and flooded with coolant until temperatures return to safe levels, -30 degrees Celsius to -25 degrees Celsius. Containment area is to be kept in total vacuum during testing, and personnel interacting with SCP-009 must wear full environmental protection gear. Following testing, all equipment, personnel, and other materials must undergo dehydration procedures and be quarantined for no less than 12 hours. Any moisture found displaying properties of SCP-009 is to be quarantined and added to the containment area as soon as possible. Living organisms found to be contaminated by SCP-009 are to be terminated by chemical desiccation and extracted molecules of SCP-009 added to containment. Description: SCP-009 is approximately redacted liters of a substance which superficially resembles distilled water, except with a distinct bright red hue. The red hue is discernible in all phases and serves as the most expedient method of identifying contaminated matter before its anomalous properties manifest. In contrast to mundane water, SCP-009 assumes a liquid phase at temperatures between -100 degrees Celsius and 0 degrees Celsius, and a solid state above those temperatures. At temperatures below -100 degrees Celsius, SCP-009 vaporizes into a gaseous phase similar to steam. Examinations of the atomic structure of SCP-009 have proved inconclusive. The substance appears to be identical to normal water molecules, with the exception of redacted, in contrast to standard laws of enthalpy. Dr. Redacted cite Redacted's resident expert on xenospatial physics suggests that SCP-009 may originate in a universe with alternate physical laws. The most hazardous property of SCP-009, however, is its ability to contaminate normal H2O. When in contact with any aqueous solution, SCP-009 will, through unknown mechanisms, transfer its anomalous properties to other objects and creatures. Testing has shown it capable of assimilating ice, steam, tea, fruit juice, seawater, blood, and data expunged. The time it takes for this process to occur varies depending on temperature and the exact chemical composition of affected matter, and had been observed as taking between 3 minutes and redacted hours. Experiments on D-Class personnel have illustrated the process of conversion by the substance, which has been found to follow a consistent pattern. Initial exposure. Subject is exposed to SCP-009 and it begins assimilating any moisture present in the exposed surface. Creatures in this stage do not commonly notice any unusual symptoms except for a slight warming sensation. Surface conversion. Frost begins to form on the exposed area as the heat produced by the subject and SCP-009 itself raises its temperature above 0 degrees Celsius. This stage can take anywhere from 1 minute to redacted hours, during which time subjects begin to feel redacted crystals from the epidermis. Deep tissue conversion. Exponential increase in temperature of SCP-009 causes runaway reaction throughout subject's body, resulting in redacted. Actual blood loss is minimal due to ice crystals, redacted, allowing subjects to remain alive and conscious for up to redacted hours. Data expunged. Okay. Testing on D-Class personnel was discontinued as of 4/23/20 redacted. Addendum. Circumstances of retrieval. Subject was found in redacted, Alaska on 11/5/19 redacted. The Foundation became involved after reports were obtained from the native redacted tribe, who came across the mangled bodies of a team of seal hunters which had apparently been shipwrecked redacted kilometers from the village. All victims were found encased in red ice. Cause of death recorded as internal bleeding, though closer examination found redacted. It is surmised that the low ambient temperatures in the area retarded the freezing process. This prolonged the time to total conversion by redacted hours, and allowed victims to remain conscious until data expunged. Origin of SCP-009 is currently unknown. Investigation into similar events or materials in the area are ongoing. Evidence at the scene suggests redacted, possibly involving SCP-redacted. See Exploration Log A009-1 for details.
Alright, let's see what's in this log.
Situational Report, Exploration Log 11-5-19 redacted. Situational Report, Multiple Task Force Beta 7, the Maz Hatters, was deployed to recovery site to catalog and safely retrieve samples of SCP-009 for transportation to site redacted. Agent redacted Bryce, MTF-B7, made a visual inspection of the area and noted 3 bodies, all male between the ages of redacted and 40 years old. Dr. Redacted, also on site, surmised from the relative position of subjects that Mr. Redacted, age 32, hereafter referred to as Subject 0, was the origin point of redacted. Subsequent subjects are presumed to have been exposed to SCP-009 while attempting to help Subject 0 back to the wreckage of the boat. During standard perimeter sweep, Agent Redacted Hughes located what appeared to be the humanoid tracks leading northeast. After brief deliberation, a 3-man team consisting of Agent Hughes, Whitmore, and Cassidy was dispatched to investigate potential security breach.
Begin log 642-43 EST.
We found something, Control. It's a cave. The tracks lead inside.
Copy. Hughes. What do you see?
Looks like a crack in the ice. Maybe a meter tall. The opening's not very wide.
Captain, we got a body.
Unidentified, shuffling noises are heard.
We didn't copy, Hughes. Repeat.
There's a subject here, Control. Frozen in the skip. Male about 15. Looks like he was trying to crawl away from something. There's a spear gun here, also frozen. It's been fired.
Any signs of trauma?
There's a pause.
Without touching him, I can't be sure. But it looks like he was stabbed by something. See how he's gripping his chest here? Right where the spike is growing out, he might have been attacked.
Did you hear her, Control?
Affirmative. Tag the coordinates for recovery and proceed into the cave.
We using live fire, Captain.
There might be hostiles, so yes. But keep him in single-shot mode. Don't want the guns getting too hot.
Good call. Don't want to end up like this guy.
That's for sure.
Agents ready their weapons and proceed. Approximately 2 minutes pass.
Unintelligible.
Please repeat, Hughes. We didn't copy.
There's a chamber in here, Control. I'd say 5 or 6 meters in diameter. It's filled with red ice. In the middle, there's a pool. Looks about 3 meters wide. Depth unknown.
The fuck hap. Screams are heard.
Gunfire.
Hughes, come in. Are there hostiles?
Fucking hell, negative, Control. Just, Jesus, a fucking polar bear. It's dead. There's dozens of bodies here. Not human. I see a few seals, a snow fox, and what the hell?
The fuck is that?
No. Oh, God.
Hughes, do you copy?
Cassidy found, a spider. A giant spider. There's a pause, during which shuffling and hard breathing are heard.
Is it alive? What do you mean by giant?
I mean fucking huge, Control. At least a meter leg span. It's frozen. Wait, no shit, I don't see anything inside. It almost looks like it's made of this stuff.
Not possible. We're nowhere close to Germany.
What? What about Germany?
Captain, I'm pretty sure that's 3023.
Repeat, Captain.
Cassidy said the spider is SCP-3023, Control.
That's not possible, Hughes. Why would she think that?
I'm sure, Control. I've worked with 3023. It's an instance made of Skip 9.
Wait, what's 3023?
That is classified. Agent Cassidy, you are to speak no more of this. If the specimen is destroyed, there is no reason to worry about it. Please continue your search.
But how the fuck did it get here?
We copy Control. Cassidy, sweep the perimeter. See if there's any side tunnels.
But
That's an order. Check these corpses. See if there are any humans.
On it.
Agent Hughes, how deep is the pool you mentioned?
Can't see the bottom. God, I'm having SCP-354 flashbacks. This is not cool.
Focus, Captain. Is there anything nearby you can use to measure the depth?
Well, the spider has a spear sticking out of it.
Can you safely retrieve it?
The suit should protect me, right?
All the same. Try not to touch the affected material.
Alright, I've got it. Should work. Looks to be about 1.5 meters long.
Copy that, Hughes. Proceed with caution.
Well, it's definitely more than a meter deep. I could go further, but I'd have to get my hand closer to that stuff. Suit or no suit, I prefer not to do that.
Affirmative, Captain. We'll dispatch some D-Class with gear to test that out. Continue your search.
Copy that. Well, I guess I'm...
Captain,
Stand by, Control. What is it, Cassidy?
I think you're going to want to see this, sir. I think I know where the spider came from.
Control, I'm going deeper in the cave.
Affirmative. Proceed.
Approximately 1 minute of boots crunching on ice and packed snow. Oh, that's not good.
What do you see, Captain?
An aperture. About a meter in diameter. It's covered in the stuff. Cassidy, 10 seconds of silence. Report.
Do you have a visual of Agent Cassidy?
No. Shit, she must have gone inside.
Please remain calm. Describe this aperture.
It just looks like a tunnel, but there's no ice past the mouth, red or otherwise. I can make out a dim light coming from somewhere inside. Might be Cassidy's torch.
Is there anything else unusual?
Cassidy.
Captain Hughes, please respond. Is there anything else unusual about the tunnel?
Yeah, it's wet. The walls are, and the floor. There's a puddle about a meter down. Shit, the puddle is red. A few minutes of breathing and shuffling noises. Control, did you get that?
Affirmative. Stand by.
30 seconds of breathing, followed by approaching footsteps.
Yo, what's up? Where's Cassidy?
She went in there.
Yo, Cassidy. Holla back, girl.
30 seconds of silence. Control, I'm going in there.
Negative. Hughes, we're rerouting a team of D-Class for recovery. Your orders are to withdraw the rest of your team and await further orders.
Data redacted.
Whoa, hold up. Take it easy.
You have your orders, Hughes. I don't think I need to remind you.
45 seconds of silence. Copy, Control, let's go.
Well, I'm not sure the bad AI voice editing was really necessary, but that was really interesting. Addendum 11-9-19 redacted. After initial report and retrieval of specimens, it was confirmed that the arachnid entity found by MTF-B7 was indeed a previously unknown instance of SCP-3023. Investigation has revealed the instance originated in redacted as a result of data expunged. Addendum 12-6-19 redacted. After repeated inquiries, it should be noted that the portion of coastline upon which the initial victims were found was barren rock approximately redacted meters from the seashore and was sufficiently dry and cold to prevent significant contamination of the surrounding area. Had the site been closer to the water, there is little doubt that an extinction-level event would have ensued. Consideration of upgrading SCP-009 to Keter class under review. Addendum 12-16-20 redacted. Supercooling of SCP-009 for the purposes of experimentation is disallowed until further notice. Personnel are advised that liquid nitrogen is only to be used on the subject in controlled amounts, and only until temperatures have reached acceptable levels. Related note, possible application of SCP-009 in cold fusion research pending evaluation. Memo from O5 Command 1-9-20 redacted. We've decided to keep this thing Euclid for now. We understand the concerns raised, but as long as you keep the power on and nobody goes near its containment area, there shouldn't be a problem. That's why we're keeping it in sight redacted after all. As for the cold fusion research, we're putting a pin in that for now. Frankly, we don't have the budget for another snafu like site redacted. The salvage team still hasn't found Dr. Redacted's redacted. Cross-testing report 9507F23. The following experiment record was recovered via a chance occurrence of SCP-507, shifting into a universe in which the described test was carried out using SCP-107. The acceptability of the reported findings to our own universe is pending review. Input: 10 milliliters of SCP-009. Result: red snow fell in the test area for 27 minutes with moderate intensity. Notably, anti-enthopathic reaction of SCP-009 did not extend past the effective radius of SCP-107, for results still under investigation. Non-grass plants in area turned bright red in color, greatly expanded, and mutated to display cyan-colored tentacles similar to those of species Docera capensis. Mucilage produced by these tentacles later found to be tiny beads of SCP-009. How the plant is able to survive with SCP-009 integrated into its cell structure is currently under investigation, with preliminary hypothesis being the plant is a reflection of flora from the substance's native universe. SCP-010, Collars of Control. Object Class: Safe. Special Containment Procedures. The objects comprising SCP-010 are to be kept in numbered, locked boxes at Site-19. They are not to be worn except by test subjects. SCP-010 are only to be removed from storage for testing. Description: SCP-010 consists of a series of 6 apparently identical cast iron collars with numbered metal tags and 1 remote control. The control is SCP-010-1. The collars are SCP-010-2 through 010-7. The collars contain intricate electronic components that are powered by small 5mm diameter, 2mm thick, 100-volt batteries. These batteries are rechargeable. The remote is a heavy black box resembling an old-style handheld radio transmitter and receiver with a primitive blue-white cathode ray screen and a series of more than 100 unlabeled buttons, as well as a frequency tuner. Through trial and error, the frequencies of all 6 currently found collars have been discovered. A label in Russian is stamped into the metal along a logo consisting of workers building a pyramid. No official Russian corporation or government agency uses this logo or matches the words stamped into the metal. Placing the collar around the neck of a person and securing it allows one to control their every movement with the remote. It is also capable of producing an adrenal response and activating or deactivating the sympathetic nervous system. The most abnormal feature of the collars is the effect they have on the body morphology. They allow the user of the remote to reconfigure the shape of the victim to an extent that is apparently only limited by the knowledge of the programming language of the remote. Addendum 010-1. History. SCP-010 was discovered in the basement of a lone man in the Midwestern United States after a local disappearance was connected to him. When the police raided the man's house, they found SCP-010 as well as several dead bodies. One of the bodies was identified to be the man. The others were several other missing persons. Cause of death seemed to be mass suicide, however, there were signs of significant struggle first. Addendum 010-2. Disassemble Experiment. Test 1. SCP-010-2 taken apart piecewise. The parts labeled and several photographs taken, then reassembled. Result: after a reassembly of SCP-010-2 continues to function. Test 2. SCP-010-8 constructed identically to SCP-010-2, but with the closest approximations available to the unreplicable components. Result: SCP-010-8 fails to function. Test 3. Unreplicable components from SCP-010-2 placed into proper locations on SCP-010-8. Result: SCP-010-2 ceases functioning with removal of components. SCP-010-8 begins functioning. Test 4. Components returned to SCP-010-2 Replicable components in SCP-010-2 replaced randomly with replicas. Result: SCP-010-2 begins functioning with return of components. Changing replicable components for replicas does not significantly reduce functionality. Replacement of a damaged transistor. Decreased time from transmission to effect of SCP-010-2 response to commands entered by the remote by 12%. Addendum 010-3. SCP-010 has been demonstrated to work more effectively in creating unskilled labor than any other task. The logo is redacted. Oh. That was short and terrifying. Okay, let's go on to the next one. SCP-011 Sentient Civil War Memorial Statue. That sounds terrifying. Object classes: safe. Special containment procedures. SCP-011 and the area surrounding it are to be cleaned once every day. For safety purposes, cleaning should start at least 30 minutes after sundown. Cleaning should always be performed by at least 2 personnel who are also advised to note anything unusual about the item or debris cleaned up. In a situation where the item cannot be cleaned for more than 2 days, local residents must be contacted and instructed not to approach the item. Containment procedures nullified, 2004. Description: SCP-011 is a Civil War memorial statue located in Woodstock, Vermont. The statue is the image of a young male soldier holding a musket at his side and is carved out of granite quarried within the area. Occasionally, SCP-011 has been observed lifting its musket to the sky to fire at birds which attempt to land or defecate on it. Reports detail that its movements produce soft grinding sounds but do not cause any structural failure. Oddly, the gunfire is very similar to that of a standard firearm, despite observations that the item only loads granite bullets and granite powder into the musket, which is also unharmed by firing. In spite of its efforts, some fecal matter does manage to strike SCP-011, and it has reportedly become distressed when it has had a large amount of feces on it, in some rare occasions even firing at humans. I get it. I would too. Addendum: those assigned to maintain SCP-011 are to see document number 011-1 for instructions. Document number 011-1, maintenance brief. Document archive 2004, accessible to personnel with security clearance 2001 or higher. Additional information: SCP-011's seeming sentience has increased since the first report of activity in 1995. As of 2004, the item's containment procedures have been dropped, but it remains under constant observation. Recorded below are landmark events in its activity. Timeline: 3/12/1995. Woodstock resident reports the statue's eyes moving, first sign of activity. 9/30/1995. Statue shoots musket for the first time. 10/9/1995. Statue begins shooting birds from the sky. 1/25/1996. Registration as SCP-011. Containment procedures begin. 4/14/1997. SCP-011 observed moving casually and looking around. 5/3/2000. After caretaker, redacted, jokingly shouts, "Good shot!" SCP-011, the item replies, "Thank you," in a reportedly very human voice, first speech from the statue. 10/22/2001. SCP-011 has conversation with caretaker, redacted, 2001 shooting of birds stop. 2/6/2002. At the imploring of redacted, SCP-011 steps down from its pedestal. 2003-2004. SCP-011 reaches a human level of self-awareness. 11/10/2004. Containment procedures dropped. Custody of SCP-011 transferred to redacted. 5/17/2005. Redacted reports that SCP-011 is romantically attracted to her. 8/29/2006. Recent psych test reports an IQ of 133. That's kind of cute. He's got a little crush. SCP-012, a bad composition. Object class, Euclid. Special containment procedures. SCP-012 is to be kept in a darkened room at all times. If the object is exposed to light or seen by personnel using a light frequency other than infrared, remove personnel for mental health screening and immediate physical. Object is to be encased in an iron shield box suspended from the ceiling with a minimum clearance of 2.5 meters or 8 feet from the floor, walls, and any openings. Description: SCP-012 was retrieved by archaeologist K.M. Sandoval during the excavation of a northern Italian tomb destroyed in a recent storm. The object, a piece of handwritten musical score entitled On Mount Golgotha, part of a larger set of sheet music, appears to be incomplete. The red-black ink, first thought to be some form of berry or natural dye ink, was later found to be human blood from multiple subjects. The first personnel to locate the sheet, Site 19 Special Salvage, had 2 members descend into insanity, attempting to use their own blood to finish the composition, ultimately resulting in massive blood loss and internal trauma. Following initial investigations, multiple test subjects were allowed to access the score. In every case, the subjects mutilated themselves in order to use their own blood to finish the piece, resulting in subsequent symptoms of psychosis and massive trauma. Those subjects who managed to finish a section of the piece immediately committed suicide, declaring the piece to be impossible to complete. Attempts to perform the music have resulted in disagreeable cacophony, with each instrumental part having no correlation or harmony with the other instruments. SCP-013, Blue Lady Cigarettes. Object class, safe. Special containment procedures. SCP-013 are to be kept in a secure storage vault at Site 66. Exposed subjects are to be monitored for differences between their symptoms. Exposed subjects are to be interviewed daily, and any changes in perception are to be logged. Description: SCP-013 is the collective designation of 242 cigarettes which display similar anomalies. The most common external detail between instances is the presence of the words Blue Lady handwritten on each cigarette in blue ink. Subjects who consume the contents of SCP-013 through inhalation will begin to perceive themselves as a specific, unidentified woman. Subjects have described the woman to be aged between 25 and 35 years old, standing approximately 1.6 meters tall, with an estimated weight between 50 and 55 kilograms. Additional recurring details include cropped dark hair, blue eyes, and bright blue lipstick. Immediately after consuming an instance of SCP-013, subjects will gradually begin to perceive reflections of themselves as having the features of the woman, and will gradually perceive their bodies changing to reflect her appearance over the course of the following weeks. All changes are entirely mental. The subject's body does not change outwardly, only their perception of themselves. These alterations are permanent and cannot be reversed. SCP-013 was discovered after the suicide of an Irvine Rivers, packed in a large cardboard crate in his apartment. A cursory search of the apartment uncovered several hundred sketches of a stick figure strongly resembling the one perceived while under 013's effect. Rivers' body had been found sitting at a desk, dead of a massive overdose, and draped over a handwritten note transcribed below. During the investigation of Rivers' apartment, one civilian investigator became affected by 013's effect. An embedded agent soon contacted the nearest site. The subject, the artifact, and related evidence were extracted and contained. Currently, 217 instances of SCP-013 cigarettes are contained at Biosite 66. 25 SCP-013 cigarettes are contained at Research Sector 09, pending future research into similar anomalous effects. Addendum. Below is the note which was acquired along with SCP-013. I see her everywhere, that sad blue lady. I feel like I should know her, but I can't remember. I love her, but I don't know why. She's so beautiful and sweet and clear, but I don't know anymore. Her favorite flavor, Where did you go? I miss you. I am suddenly very happy I quit smoking. SCP-014, the Concrete Man. Object Class, Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-014 is to be kept in sight, redacted, in a chair with arms, preferably facing a window. Music should be supplied on a regular basis, preferably constantly. This music should not include pieces originating after 1937. A security camera should be present in SCP-014's room. Description: SCP-014 is a Caucasian male appearing to be approximately 30 years of age with black hair, brown eyes, and a somewhat round face. Records indicate his name to be Robert Chetford, confined in 1915 to the Norwich Asylum in Connecticut for delusional insanity, claiming that he had been cursed to live forever and was slowly turning into concrete in consequence. The asylum closed in 1937 and the patients were transferred to various other facilities. SCP-014 came to Foundation attention in redacted from rumors of a patient who seemed to be entirely immobile and showed no signs of aging. Further investigation determined that acquisition was warranted. SCP-014 is, to all outward appearances, a normal man, but he does not appear to age and shows no signs of possessing a metabolism. He does not eat, drink, perspire, or in any other ways demonstrate life functions. He breathes only to speak, and apart from his eyes and vocal apparatus, is to all appearances utterly immobile. He has never shown any evidence of pressure ulcers, despite his position not having varied for several decades. Neither do his muscles appear to be atrophied. He can converse normally, but shows little knowledge of or interest in events since his confinement. Addendum. Note: frankly, were I to interview this man without knowing his history, I'd think he was a perfectly sane and well-adjusted individual who happens to be quadriplegic. As it is, I have to conclude that he is the ultimate proof of the idea that the mind rules the body. He thinks he's concrete and will live forever, and so he's as close to both as he can be. Somehow. Dr. Redacted. Hello, and welcome to the Containment Vault. SCP-015, Pipe Nightmare. Object Class, Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-015 is impossible to move and is contained on site. A gap of at least 2 meters, 6 feet, needs to be maintained around the entire structure containing SCP-015 at all times, and no structures of any kind are to make contact with SCP-015's current containment structure. Exploration is permissible, but only in teams of 3 with full safety lines and GPS tracking. Any protrusions from SCP-015 must be capped and sealed immediately, with the new site recorded and logged. No aggressive action is to be made within SCP-015. No hand or power tools are allowed anywhere inside SCP-015. No repairs or maintenance are to be made anywhere on SCP-015. Description: SCP-015 is a mass of pipes, vents, boilers, and other various plumbing apparatus completely filling a warehouse in redacted. The pipes appear to grow when not under observation, attempting to connect to nearby structures via sewer systems and underground plumbing. SCP-015 contains, at current estimate, over 190 kilometers, or 120 miles, of pipes ranging in diameter from 2.5 centimeters to over 1 meter. Some pipes appear new, while others are rusted and leaking. Pipes have been reported as being made of bone, wood, steel, pressed ash, human flesh, glass, and granite. No pipes composed of lead, PVC plastic, copper, or any other traditional material for the production of pipes have been found. SCP-015 reacts to tools and aggression. Any personnel acting violently, carrying tools, or attempting to damage or repair SCP-015 in any way will trigger a reaction. Any pipes near the subject will burst, spraying on the subject for several seconds before the flow suddenly stops. Pipes have been reported containing oil, mercury, rats, a species of insect not yet identified, ground glass, seawater, entrails, and molten iron. Pipes will continue to burst around the subject until death or retreat. SCP-015 was cut back into its current structure after attaching to 11 other structures in the area. Currently, 11 personnel have been killed and 20 more are still missing. Reports have been made of banging and screaming coming from within SCP-015. It looks like there's an audio file here.
This was stupid. It was a stupid idea, thought up by stupid people, in stupid, safe offices. Agent 2 looked slowly around, letting his flashlight play over the walls. One of the only items that the agents were allowed to carry inside SCP-015. Agents 6 and Lon were standing just behind him doing the same. The idle chatter and joking had died off about 30 seconds ago, each agent slowly realizing that this was no simple little milk run. Go in, find the observation unit, pull the data and recover the unit. Cake. They laughed. Lon asking if she should find a Mario hat to wear. Them being plumbers now and all. Now, however, seeing the dim, cramped tunnel yawning before them, the only joke was on them being there at all. 2 stepped forward, slowly, fixing his flashlight on the ground. It was a hard mat of pipes, more or less level with the floor. A few small tubes stuck up here and there, snaking around like tree roots, or suddenly turning up in the middle of the floor like a pillar. The walls, the ceiling, every inch of the original structure was coated in pipes. Some researcher who led them up to the main floor said that there wasn't anything left of the old warehouse really, except for the outer shell. He pushed away the whole line of thought, pointed following the pre-mapped course they had to memorize, stepping around a pillar of tightly woven hair, the glossy surface steamed gently. 6 plodded along, taking the rear and keeping a close eye on 2 and Lon, skittish kids. Lon was jumping at every sound, and 2 looked like he was ready to drop in if he saw so much as a mouse. Kids. He sniffed in the dark, playing his light forward, smelling heat, sewage, and God knows what else. They needed a good military hand to lead them, but damned if 6 was going to mollycoddle grown adults who were going to jump at shadows. They were going to get his goddamn job done and get the hell back out. Fuck that bullshit SCP slip. They were just security blankets for eggheads and flakes, semi-sentient my ass. They just didn't want people denting their pet horrors. He wanted out of this dripping nightmare. He was going to get this mission done with or without them. Lon tiptoed over a thick, thorny mass of pipes, the surface like braided thistles, trying not to whimper. He kept close to 2, keeping the light at her feet so she wouldn't step on anything nasty. She hadn't wanted to seem like the little weak girl, but she had a terrible fear of tight spaces, and this place was like walking around in someone's slowly closing arteries. Lon shook her head hard, breaking off that whole train of thought. She was the tech. 6 and 2 were the safety. All she had to do was stick by them, pull the data cards of the MRV, and then leave. She tried hard not to look back at the sealed floors in the distance behind them. Only a couple turns to the MRV, a little work, and then I'm out. In and out. Simple as pie. She ignored a softly throbbing pipe of leathery flesh near her arm with a focus that was almost physical. They found the MRV after what felt like an hour of walking. It was hard to keep your bearings. The rampant growth of the pipes had cramped up some of the areas down to the crawlways, and snarled others into a random claustrophobic mazes. 6 had nearly gotten stuck twice, and had looked like he was about to murder Lon when she made him a comment relating to Winnie the Pooh. Lon was talking again at least, but it was brittle whistle in front of the graveyard chatter. 2 kept trying to follow the directions, but even with them being less than a week old, they were little more than a guideline. When they'd finally found the MRV, it had been a momentary relief. At least they were at the halfway point. Then they looked at it in the light. It had been speared, for lack of a better term, pinned against a pipe of some kind of dense fabric. A smooth, black pipe had docked itself to the camera lens of the observation vehicle. It wasn't smashed or damaged, it was just connected as if it was made for it. It had lifted the little tread of the robot nearly a foot off the ground, and it looked like the other, smaller pipes had started to connect to other open spaces on the vehicle. It just sat there, wheels slowly turning as the batteries died, like a bug on a nest of pins. Some clear, foul-smelling liquid was dripping softly from the camera housing. Well, 2's voice echoed in the dark, a monument to pointless speech. They all stood for a few moments. Then Lon started to, carefully, look over the MRV. 6 was looking around with an increasing relentlessness, starting to mutter quietly. Lon was reaching for the data cards before stopping, looking over at 2. 2, since it's grown into the MRV, do you think it counts? What do you mean counts? 2 kept the light on her and the machine, a hiss of steam behind him making him flinch. I mean, it's damaging 015. If I take out the data cards, do you think it will react? 2 looked around slowly, shining his light along the floor. A pipe as wide as a car and seemingly made of compacted lint. This suddenly seems like a bad... Oh, shut the fuck up. Both agents turned to stare at 6. He'd stepped up to the MRV, flexing his hands and reaching into his coat with one hand. The other pushed Lon away none too softly. Move it, reaction. For fuck's sake. They just say that shit to fuck with people and keep their toys safe. It's a bunch of weird pipes, beginning and ending there. Maybe it grows or whatever, but the damn thing sure as shit isn't going to take offense to people. I'm grabbing this goddamn thing and we're getting out of here. As he spoke, he stepped forward, flipping open the data port cover. More of a clear, scummy liquid had pooled inside. The other 2 agents froze, staring in shock for a moment, and the building seemed to do so as well. The whispered sounds of venting steam, sliding materials, and the soft pinging had all stopped. The heartbeat in Lon's ears sounded like gunshots. 2 started forward, reaching for 6. Jesus, 6, what the fuck are you... 6 ignored him, slipping out the thin data cards. It felt cold. Nasty water over them. Bad. But they were built to resist it. He slipped them out, then put the bundle in his pocket. He prodded around the edge of the camera lens, shifting the MRV a bit, trying to see if it would work free as 2 and Lon backed away, slowly, the silence around them seeming to crush inward. 6 gave up, turning away from the helpless, trapped MRV and shining his light on the 2 white-faced agents. Fucking kids, I don't know how you guys survive. The pipe under him opened up with the soft sound of tearing felt. 2 and Lon didn't even have time to react. Before he slid into the widening gap up to his armpits, and he started screaming horribly. 6's flashlight went tumbling away as the 2 agents, galvanized by the big man's wretched screaming, ran to help him. A blast of heat and light was pouring up from under the man as the 2 agents grabbed his arms and looked down. He was submerged in a mass of thickly flowing, molten glass. His clothes had already started to smolder and burn, the stench of seared flesh almost more overpowering than the reverberating scream. They pulled and dragged up half of a man with a ruined, searing mass of flesh and cloth where his lower body should have been. They panted, trying to drag him. Lon started screaming along with 6, 2 eyes wide and fixed on some point far away from there. There was a horrible swell of sound rising all around him, pinging, hissing, clinging, cracking, a pipe to their side, bulging alarmingly and causing them to nearly fall. They regained their footing, just as a wooden pipe above them burst open in a spray of splinters and clear, stinging dust. 2 and Lon spun away, gagging and choking, 2 spitting out a sudden mass of blood. Glass. It was powdered glass. It poured over 6, muffling his screams, shifting as he struggled for a few moments, then stopped, the glass quickly covering the body and spreading. Lon blinked, eyes red and puffy, looking over 2. He nodded, and they bolted down the hall, trying to ignore the rising cacophony of sound, sounding like an approaching subway train. A mass of oily, reeking chemicals boiled up behind them, a jetting surge of rose thorns nearly cutting off their forward progress, forcing them to crawl along a bone pipe that was shuddering like an old man in the cold. They ran, keeping just ahead of whatever it was. Hearing splintering explosions and shivering cracks all around them, they finally came to a snarled crawlway, barely a few feet wide. That was the only way forward. 2 dived in, doing a low crawl, trying to will himself forward like a snake, knowing the passage was only about 15 feet long. Easy. Wouldn't take any time. Lon hesitated. That tiny black gap looked like a mouth, before a sudden burst of steam behind her sent her shrieking forward, sobbing as she started to crawl, calling after Two. Two ignored the growing vibration all around him, the creaking pipe near his head, and slid free of the opening. He turned and saw nothing. No Lon, no sudden bursting. Just the empty hole. He looked around, hands twitching, thinking, then slid back inside, trying to find Lon and physically drag her out. He could hear her, muffled, probably behind the next turn, and his flashlight revealed a solid wall of 3 thick, flaking white pipes. This was it. He was sure of it. The tunnel was right here. And then he heard the pitfall scream behind him. Lon begging, pleading, screaming for him. Two stared, eyes wide, then slammed his flashlight against the pipe. It burst, sending a reeking, corrosive slime over his hand, making him reel back down the crawlway, screaming as it ate into his flesh. He stood outside the opening, holding his steaming hand away from him, trying not to look at the exposed bone. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Lon. I'm sorry, I'll get help. I'll get someone. Just sit tight, I swear. He bolted down the hall, his flashlight seeming to dim in time to the rising sound. Lon panted, screaming for Two, hearing the hard bang on the other side of the pipe and his sudden shrieking retreat. She sobbed, her whole body shaking, and slowly starting to work her way backward, crawling on her belly, crying as if she muttered some half-remembered prayer. When her feet pushed against the solid wall of pipe, she couldn't even muster a fresh scream. She was trapped. The space not much bigger than a coffin. Helpless. She sobbed, face on the ground of a warm, fuzzy pipes, and noticed the silence. Aside from her cries, there was nothing. No pinging, no cracks or explosions. Nothing. She raised her head in the barely illuminated dark, looking around. She was alive. It was calming down. They'd come for her. Two would get help. She would get out of here. She fought back her growing claustrophobia, looking along the walls. She noticed a small gap at the ceiling and started shifting to get a better look, twisting back, and finding only the open end of a pipe. Long sagged back, closing her eyes, tears leaking down her face. The first sticky drips she simply assumed were the same tears. Then one fell on her mouth, and it was sweet. She opened her eyes and saw a thick, quivering mass of amber glue splattered from the mouth of the pipe, coating her and the floor as it surged out. She coughed, shifting back. It was honey. Honey, or something like it. At least it wasn't molten lead or acid. Then she saw the level rising. It wasn't draining. The pipes were packed too close. She looked around her tiny chamber with horror rising much faster than the honey oozing up her sides. Lon beat on the walls, the floor, the ceiling, trying to block the pipe with her hands, heedless of provoking the thing once more, as the honey rose and rose, as coiling sweet as a school-aged lover. Her last gasping breath was sweet and stale with honey and screams. Two ran, totally lost now, his flashlight dimming by the moment, the sounds of cracking and bursting pipes starting to trail off. Maybe it was done. Finally, 015 was protective, but it didn't seem vengeful. People have gotten hurt before and gotten out fine. It happened. They'd find a way to get Lon out too. She might even be out already. Just found another way to get around the blockage. That was probably it. She was probably out of this stupid place. 6 was a shame. But why had the lunatic opened the case? What the hell had possessed him? He was still musing onto this when he tripped over an unseen pipe in the dark around his feet. He pitched forward, yelping a half-surprised, half-terrified bark as he went sprawling, or he should have went sprawling. Instead, he fell past the floor into a yawning, open pit of a pipe, the slick, oozing sides plunging down at a sharp angle. He screamed, trying to grab something to stop or slow himself, but the walls were oozing and thick, his downward slide gaining speed. His dimming flashlight showed a seemingly endless tunnel stretching off below him. He slid and slid, a scum of stinking, smooth ooze sticking to his clothes and skin. The tube was twisting, banging him against the walls as he followed it, his flashlight jittering and starting to flicker. Panic slammed down like a fist. 2 grabbed the light and trying to keep it still, pleading with it, staring at the lamp bulb as it dimmed more and more. It surged a moment, then flickered out, the darkness pressing into his eyes like cloth, the agent slipping down faster and faster, screaming until he was hoarse, screaming until his throat bled, screaming even as he passed well beyond the physical boundaries of that tangle web of pipe. Days later, when his skin started to shred off, it was almost welcome.
That concludes today's files. I'm your host, AJ. I want to give a special shout out to my husband, Robert Nox, for lending his voice in that last clip. You can find his podcast, The Heretical Heathen, wherever you get your podcasts. And as always, secure, contain, protect.